All right, the form we're going to go over today is the offer accepted form. For independent agents, this is not a requirement for a pending file, but please feel free to use it because it is very helpful. I use this form not only just to have all of my information on one page that I can refer to quickly, but also I send it over to the title company I'm working with my title commitment order. Or even on the other side, if I'm not the person ordering the title work, I still send this form to the other side's title company choice because it gives them all the information they need for closing right at the beginning, and you don't have to mess around with any of their forms or doing anything extra before closing. It should all be here. Linda Anderson team members, this is a requirement. You do have to have this form filled out in full and turned in with every pending file. So this is what the form looks like, and I'm zooming in so that you guys can see it. It's on an 8.5 by 14 sheet of paper. You can get these in the room where the printer is. They're on the wall there for you, blanks if you need them. So I'm just going to give you a quick crash course on how to fill this form out. If you can see right here at the very top of the page, I'm moving back and forth where my cursor is so that you can see where I'm pointing to. So the first thing I'm going to do, obviously, I'm going to start out with the date here. That's pretty self-explanatory. I usually put in the date as the date the offer was accepted because that's the date all your deadlines count off from, and it's just real helpful. So the date should be the date the offer is accepted. The sales price is the final price that the purchase offer is for, so any counters included, you want to go with the final purchase price. So the sales price in this case is $215,000. Your commission split, now this is what our side is getting from the transaction. So whether it's the listing side or the selling side, we use this form for both sides, whichever one you represent. So you fill in what your side is getting. So in this case, we're getting 3% commission on our side. So 3% of the $215,000. And then any office, well, I shouldn't say office, any additional commissions on top of the percentage. So in this case, I'm filling out this form as though I'm the seller's side. So we're getting a 3% commission as well as an additional $445 commission. So the co-op company, that's the other side of the transaction. In this case, it's a selling agent. Since I'm the listing side, I know what that side's getting. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 3% on that side. And then, if you're the selling agent, then you're not going to know what that commission is. Just put a question mark or put a line through there, whatever, because you don't know that side. But definitely fill out at least the information that you have that you know you're getting. The total commission amount to Boulder Bay would be this in total dollars. So 3% of $215,000 plus the $445 commission equaled out to a total of $68.95 to your side of the transaction. Okay, so I'm going to put that dollar amount there. The earnest money. What was the amount that was collected in the purchase offer? In this case, the earnest money was $1,000. And then you have choices to circle. You can either circle get to tell yourself you need to get that still, that it's done, you have it. You've given it to Jen at the front desk or me to deposit into our escrow account. Or deliver, that tells yourself, okay, I'm the buyer's agent. I need to make sure that I get that delivered to the office. I don't forget to do that. So you can circle one of those. Team, you should always be circling done. It should all be delivered and done when you get it. If you're the listing specialist and we're still waiting for it, then just circle get so I know that I'm still needing to get that from the selling agent. Possession. When in the contract does it say that they are supposed to get possession? TOC stands for time of closing. So if you're marking that box in the purchase agreement that you are getting possession at the time of closing or giving possession at the time of closing, then just write TOC. If it's anything other than that, then just write that in here. So say the sellers have possession for 5 days after closing. Just put 5 DAC or 5 days after closing, whatever's easier for you. Put that in here. HOA dues. Is there an acting homeowners association that collects dues each month or quarterly or a year? Is there anything that's collected by a homeowners association? Just circle yes or no. This prompts the title company that we know we need to get a payoff letter from an association by the time of closing. Personal property. Obviously, it went over, if you listen to any of my purchase agreement videos, that if you're asking for personal property, you should really only be putting in any standard appliances, because lenders don't like other things. But we put a few just generic common choices for you: stove, fridge, washer, dryer, that you can circle, and also a section here where you can list any others, so maybe like microwave, dishwasher, that kind of thing. But in this case, the client only wanted the stove and fridge, so I circled stove and fridge, and there was nothing else additional that I needed to write in here. Now this box section right here, really, I mean, as far as inspections goes, generally that's a buyer's expense. So if the buyer's just taking care of that and paying for those things straight out of the gates with the inspector, I don't need to know any of that stuff. But if there are items that we are asking for somebody else to pay for, then, you know, this is a good place to put those. Survey, that's always a negotiable item. Sometimes they don't want one. Sometimes we ask the seller. Sometimes we ask the buyer. It just depends. So you might not know the amount. We always get our surveys currently from Davey Surveying, the property location surveys, and they're 180 in Porter County. In this case, I knew going into it, so I'm putting 180, and it's a charge to the seller. The reimburse column is if someone else pays for one of these items and somebody has to be reimbursed for that payment that was made at the time of closing. So pretend that Boulder Bay paid for the survey and the seller agreed to pick up that charge at closing, but we've already paid for it. Well, then we want to make sure at closing on the HUD, the $180 is billed to the seller and reimbursed to Boulder Bay. So I'd put Boulder Bay right here in the reimburse section. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory here, guys, as far as if you know the information. Pest inspection, again, if the buyer's paying for it, no big deal. But if it's like, for example, a VA, well, then we know, and we've asked in the purchase agreement that the seller pay for that because the buyer can't, well, then I'd put in seller pay. I might not know the amount right now. If I do, I'll put it in. If I don't, then I'll just maybe put a question mark in here. Home warranty. If there's a home warranty provided, what's the amount we asked for in the purchase agreement and who's responsible for paying for that, seller or buyer? So I wrote seller here because the seller is going to provide the buyer with a home warranty. I already know which type of home warranty plan I want to go with. So over here next to type, I put in HWA because that's the plan I'm using. We pre-printed these items in here because our title company that we work with regularly, they do these things for us. It's not a big deal if you're not the seller side, you know, you're not the listing side, then, you know, they'll just disregard this and do whatever the listing side wants them to do. But we just pre-printed it in there for ease for the title company. Closing costs. Are there any closing costs to be paid by anybody at closing aside from the buyer? In this case, the seller agrees to pay 2%. So I put in 2% right here. 2% towards buyer's closing costs. 2% of $215,000 is $4,300. So I did the math and I put the $4,300 here, and then I wrote in seller because that's a seller's expense. Again, this is just very helpful for both you and the title company when you're placing the order or you're getting ready for closing, so they know things are outstanding that need to be taken care of. Any services such as the survey or the pest inspection home warranty that I'm asking for, you need to be sure that you still send the title company invoices and things that they have to work with so that they physically have that paperwork in their records so they know they're legitimately cutting checks for these things and they've got an invoice to send along with the check to the vendor. Okay? I'm going to scroll on down here. This is just the seller and buyer contact information, so whoever those parties are. Again, guys, whatever side you're representing, this form is used for both the listing and the selling broker sides. So, you know, you're not going to know both sides. You might if you're in a limited agency, but if you don't, I mean, just write in the side that you know. This just helps the title company. If you're having them process for you, they know who to contact. or for yourself even as a reference. Again, everything on one page, it's real easy to look at. I filled out both sides for you guys just so that you could see what it would look like on either side depending on who you represent. So I just put in the seller's name in the transaction, their current property address, and then I put in the any numbers that I have for them. In this case, I had a cell phone for John Doe, so I put that number in, and then it's also always helpful to have an email address in there as well, so I added that in. On the buyer's side, I put in the buyer's name. Again, same kind of information. Here's something that I put a spin on though, as far as the buyer goes. We all have situations on occasion where you have a couple of parties involved. It might be a husband and a wife. It might be a boyfriend, girlfriend, a partnership of some sort, mom, dad, whatever. So if that's the case, then sometimes usually one person is the decision maker. Not always, but oftentimes when you have two people involved in the buying process or selling process, one person is the one that you go to. In this case, Jane Smith is the buyer, but she told us, you know what, I work 52,000 hours a week. I just can't be bothered during the day. My boyfriend, Joe Johnson, he's going to handle all my calls. He'll relay any information that I need to know, anything I might need to sign. So call Joe. So I put boyfriend Joe Johnson handles calls. I just made a note for myself. Hey, here, this guy is a person, and here's his cell phone number. I still put her contact info in there in case, we absolutely have to reach her for something. But I then highlighted that information so that when you guys turn in the file, that prompts me, all right, I know Jane Smith's the buyer, but you guys highlighted that Joe handles all the calls, and here's the main number to call Joe at. Or say Joe wasn't involved, but you have 3 numbers for Jane. We'll highlight the number that is the one I should be using first in the chain of whenever I need to contact her. Because that just helps me. If I'm constantly leaving a message on her home phone and she's hardly ever there, well, that's kind of wasting time. Go ahead and highlight whatever number or person I'm supposed to be contacting most of the time. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Co-op company, that's the other agent on the other side of the transaction. If we're in a limited agency, it's us. When I say us, I mean like, Boulder Bay. Say it's Linda has the listing and the selling side, and she's the agent on both sides. Just put us. Just put, you can even put us, the word us, or BB, whatever you want. In this case, I said the other side is Macaulay. The co-op agent is Susie Q. Her main contact number, cell phone's always great if I could get that, and then an email address for Susie Q. And any other additional contact info that you might want to have, just fill that in. Okay, the bank name, sometimes you guys know that right away. Sometimes the buyer's still looking for the person that they want to make application with. If you legitimately have no clue yet who they're going to be with, just write TBD, to be determined, right here. And then we'll know we have to get that information by the time their loan application deadline comes about. Most of the time you guys do know who they're going to go with. If you do, please write all that information in here. In this case, the buyer is going to be going with Diamond Mortgage. The financing type. What type of financing are they getting? Is it FHA, conventional, insured conventional, cash, VA, blah, 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 whatever it is. In this case, it's FHA, so I wrote in FHA. Who's the main loan officer? In this case, it's Ryan Eberhardt. I put in a contact phone number and fax number for Ryan. Also, if you guys happen to know, and you may not, a lot of times you don't, but if you do know that Ryan has a processor or an assistant or someone that you're going to be dealing with all the time in lieu of Ryan, then write that information in over here. In this case, I know Jen Rayner processes Ryan's files. Really, she's going to be my main contact throughout the process. So I'm going to write in her name, her email address, if there's a phone number I need to be using for her. Any of that information, just put it in here. Down here at the very bottom under BB use only, you don't have to worry about the offer accepted package, this little chart here. I will take care of that when I get the files from the team. Independent agents, you don't need to worry about this stuff either, because only Jen is going to be changing any status, or the receptionist is going to be changing any statuses. Offer accepted package, that's a team thing. We have something that we send out. I'll know what to do there, so you can leave this part blank. But down at the very bottom here, under referral and Boulder Bay Realtor, this is really, really important for us to know. Referral, yes or no? Is this transaction, when it closes, are we going to have to pay a referral fee to someone? Now, there are two different kinds of referrals. There can be a referral that's like, oh, a past client referred his Uncle Bob to buy through us. Well, Uncle Bob, is a friend of a past client or his uncle. But the person who referred him isn't a licensed realtor, so we cannot pay a commission for helping Uncle Bob. In that case, even though they were referred to us by someone, since we can't pay a commission, then it's going to be no. Oops, you're going to just mark no, okay? If it is a paid referral, then you are going to put down here, yes, you're going to mark the box yes. There is a commission to be paid. The person who referred Uncle Bob to us is a licensed realtor, whether their license is in referral or active. We know that we can legitimately pay them a referral fee, and it's due at the time of closing. If that's the case, I'm going to mark yes. And then what's the percent that you guys agreed to pay that person? Okay. Hopefully, if you guys are doing a referral, it's always best to have a form that's a referral form filled out and signed by both us as the broker as well as the person who referred the business who's getting paid. Have some sort of signed agreement. We do have referral forms here in the office. If you need them, just let us know. We can give you some. But that way there's no miscommunication when it closes, what the percentage is to the other party. In this case, it's a 25% referral fee, and I'm pretending like this person is actually referred to us from, like, say, Florida, another real estate agency altogether. Bob Parker from Parker Realty. When we close, we agree to pay Bob Parker at Parker Realty 25% referral fee off of the commission amount, okay? So make sure you put that in there. But again, that's only if it's a paid referral. If it's not being paid, then the answer is no, okay? The Boulder Bay Realtor is, who are you as the agent? Who is filling out this form? Whose purchase offer is this? I just put Linda Anderson's name. So you would put your own name, whoever you as the realtor are. Put your name so that we know who this file belongs to for processing, okay? And again, these forms, you can get blank ones in the room where the copy machine is on the wall. If we run out, just ask the receptionist and she can help get some more out there for you. And that is the offer accepted form.